Hello guys, welcome to another video of Microsoft Azure. In today's video, we are going to discuss about Logic Apps workflow. In this video, we are going to create a simple workflow and I'll show you how we can do that and how we can automate our day-to-day task or maybe multiple even difficult tasks with Logic App workflows. Okay. In my previous video of Microsoft Azure, I have already created a Logic app and explained all the properties like workflows and environment variable configuration and other things. If you need to watch that, you can check for that video and you can watch that anytime. Okay, so I have created this Logic app, adu-logic-app-01. You can create one by yourself. If you don't know how to create it, you can watch my previous video. Okay, so this is my Logic app and you can see this is successfully running. If I open it, you can see this has been running. Your function 4.0 app is up and running. Okay, so if you go to workflow here, you'll get an option to create a workflow. What is an workflow? This is basically if you take an example of function app, we deploy functions in a function app so that our function app will work perfectly fine. Like the same, we deploy workflows in our Logic app so that our Logic app will work according to our requirement. Okay, with the Logic app workflow, we can automate any of the tasks because Logic app provides so many connectors and so many integration with so many tools and services. Like even it provides integration with all the Azure, most of the Azure services along with other third-party tools. Okay, so let me try creating one of the workflows. Let me click on add. Here you will have to provide the workflow name. Okay, I'll just give it workflow. Here you will have to select the type. What should be the type of your workflow, stateful or stateless? Okay, if you need some workflow which needs high reliability or I mean for production use, then you should be choosing the stateful. But you just need or you are just creating some workflow just to learn yourself or for some minor task, day-to-day task, then even you can create the stateless. Okay, so for now we will create the stateless. I'll click on create. See, one of my workflow is created, but since we don't have anything here, this is empty. If I open it and I go to code, you'll see this is not having anything. Okay, at the moment we don't have any triggers, we don't have any actions, and we don't have anything. So let me go to designer. By going into designer, you'll get a UI like this, and you can directly design this Logic app, and later you can get that code here. So with this code, you can even automate this Logic app. You can use CI/CD pipeline to create the Logic app and deploy this workflow. Okay. So if you are just trying to deploy, I mean create this Logic app workflow directly from code, then that would need expertise and I mean it will be difficult for a beginner to do that. So I will tell you a simple process here. Just go to designer and here you will get a Logic app UI to create your Logic app. Okay, so first thing we have to do in a Logic apps to add a trigger, like how this workflow should be triggered. This can be triggered based on some HTTP request. This can be scheduled, or you can add thousands of triggers. Okay, so let me click on trigger. If you click on trigger, you see so many connectors and triggers are there. So you can, these all third-party tools are having connectors. Like you, if you want to use Azure Blob Storage, Azure DevOps as a trigger, then you can do that as well. If you want to use HTTP request as a trigger, Azure Queues as a trigger, then you can use that as well. Bitbucket. So if I select Bitbucket, let me show you an example. What does it mean by triggering? So if I add Bitbucket here, I see so many options here. So whenever this logic app will be triggered, when new commit is pushed, when new issue is added, when a pull request is approved, when a pull request is created. So this type of trigger CQ you can add. So if you add, so suppose I select the first one. So this trigger is added. Now it is asking me to create the connection. What is connection? Connection means basically you'll have to sign in to your Bitbucket, and internally this logic app will create a connection with your Bitbucket with your credentials, and that will be stored in the logic app. Okay, so I mean by signing in you can create the connection. This logic app will create the connection for you. You don't need to do anything. So this I have added a trigger. Okay, like this. If you want to add some another trigger, so let me delete it and add a new trigger. Add a trigger. So suppose you want HTTP trigger, or you want to schedule it, then you can schedule it as well. Okay, think that we are not getting. Anyway, let me show you the HTTP one for now. So suppose you want to trigger this logic app when some HTTP request is received. Like suppose you are sending some post request from somewhere and you want to create this logic app based on that. Okay, so here if you just click on return to search HTTP trigger TP. So this is the trigger. So if I click on this, when a HTTP request is received, this app will be triggered. Okay, if you just save this logic app, this will give you a URL. Whenever you have to trigger this logic app, just hit that URL and this logic app will be triggered automatically. Okay, so like this we have added just a trigger. Like this you can add multiple triggers. I mean multiple types of trigger, not multiple triggers, because we have option to add only one trigger here. After that you can add an action. So if you click on plus sign, then you should be adding an action. Like this logic app is triggered now with this step, but what it should do after that. For that you will have to add an action. Like you can do anything. You again get so many plugins here. You can see so many are there, like Azure DevOps, Office 365, Outlook, Microsoft Office, Adobe, so many third-party tools as well. You can, if you scroll down and see all these many tools, AWS, Google Cloud, you get all type of services here. You can select anything. Okay, so suppose I want to create a Azure DevOps release. or you can, so for Azure VM you can create a VM, you can delete a VM, like that you can do anything. Call an Azure function, if you want to call an Azure function you can do that. So many things are there. And suppose I want to create a new release, I have a pipeline in Azure DevOps and I want to create a new release. Okay, then the first thing I will have to do is to create a connection. Let me click on sign in. It will ask my ADO credentials. If you have already signed in, then it might not ask. If you are signing new, then it will ask you the credentials. The pop-up has blocked. Okay, I click on sign in again, and it will ask me the credentials and it will sign in. After that, it will create a connection. Again, this has blocked. So once this connection is created, that connection will be stored here in Azure Logic App, and it will be showing here in code as well. Once you go to code, see this pop-up is coming now, and it will ask me to log into my Azure DevOps. Okay, so it is asking me to grant the access. So I will go ahead. It will, you can go and read this, like what are all permission it needs and what your Logic app can do with your Azure DevOps. Okay, I will accept it. Once I accept it, it will create a new connection and ask me to supply these parameters. So I will select my organization name. Once you are signed in, it will, all the things like organization name, project name, everything will come automatically. So I will click the drop down here and I will select my this project, this organization. Okay, and you will get all the project in these organizations as well. If you click on the project, you will get the list of all the project. Maybe I think there is some permission issue. That seems some permission issue, but like this you can add a new connection and you can do that. I mean, you can create whatever you want in Logic app or anything. If I try to add a new connection here, if I delete it and new connection, so suppose you want to send an email, then I will just open the send mail task. Okay, it is asking me to again create the connection, so I will create the connection here. This is for outlook.com actually. Okay, let me sign in. So once you are signed in, see one connection is created, connected to outlook.com, and you can specify the two email ID like this, and you can change other settings as well, like importance, if all these settings are required, like subject, and you can open the advanced settings as well, like if you want to send some attachments you can select this, and your one of these stage will be created. Okay, if you want to add loops in here, then you can add the loops as well. If you want to run based on the conditions, then you can do that as well. Let me check that. So you can see this, you will have to add this control for each. So you can see the for each loop is added here. So if you want to select an output from previous step, you can provide the parameters here. Like if you want to initialize some variable, you can initialize this variable. If you want to add an action, simply type initialize variable. I will type the variable name xyz. You can just provide the data type and you can provide the value. Here you will get two options. If you want to use the data from previous steps, you can click on this, or here you get the options, I mean all the functions, like if you want to manipulate the previous output or you want something to write here using the functions, you can all use these functions. You get so many functions here, like math function, date and time function, referencing functions, collections, and strings, etc. So you can also use all these functions. So suppose I gave it 100. Okay, now I can use this variable here, and you can use the properties of output of the previous steps as well. Like here I am getting this output, so I can use the body I am getting in this HTTP request directly from here. You can even parse this JSON. If you are getting JSON data, you can parse this JSON as well. You will have to simply type what you want. Content, I will give the body. Okay, this schema you will have to give what type of JSON you want to pass. So basically you can click on use sample payload to generate schema, and whatever JSON you have you can paste it here, and if you click on done it will create a schema for you, and you can provide this body of this HTTP request as your content. Okay, so like this you can add multiple steps and actions in your Logic app, and you can click on run. Even in this for each loop you can add multiple steps. If you want to just in want to add inside this for each loop, then you can do that as well. If you want to add something parallel to this step, you can just add it like this, and it will add a parallel step. like this. So whenever you run this logic app, these both will be running parallelly. After this send email with options is completed, these both will run parallelly. Okay, like this you can even design complex logic app as well to do your task or to automate your task. Okay, I think I have covered the basic of workflow in this video. Like we have to add the triggers first and then we have to add the actions. Whatever action you want to take, you can do it from here. You just have to click on plus sign and add an action and search whatever you want. Like if you want to do something in Azure DevOps, search Azure DevOps, you will get all the things. If you want to connect with Azure Resource Manager, like create or update a resource group, create or update template deployment, cancel template deployment. Like this I just selected. This will ask you to first create the connection. After that, you can do other things, like you can, if you want to deploy some resource, then you can do that as well. So basically you get most of the around supported services here. You get all the Microsoft services along with some third party tools and services as well. So Logic app is, I think, kind of best. You can say if you are beginner or non-developer, non-coder, then you can use Logic apps to automate your day-to-day task or maybe some complex task if you want to automate that. Okay, that's it from this video. We'll meet in another video with some different topic, or and we will discuss this workflow in detail or maybe some advanced workflow in another video. Okay, if you like this video, please like and subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching.